When we're running transformations on a continuous basis to implement a pipeline that where we're aggregating data continuously every hour or every day, there's a few best practices to sort of just look at. In general, this is a whole presentation in and of itself, but you want to make each of these individual pipeline steps be idempotent so that you can rerun them frequently without having to worry about ordering, or that rerunning it more than once will produce different results. This is harder said than done in some cases, but that's something to keep in mind when you're creating jobs like this. You also want to minimize concurrency. So we'll talk about concurrency and Redshift in great depth later on in this presentation, but just that you want to keep in mind that in general, you would prefer to have smaller, more frequent jobs than huge jobs running infrequently. And it's the same concept we talked about with loads. You want to eliminate queue wait times and minimize the number of queries that are going to disk. I want to sort of introduce a few concepts here. Queue wait times. Redshift has a queuing model for queries, and the latency of a query is a function of the time it takes to execute and the time that it's waiting in a queue. We'll look at this a little bit later. Also, a query can run out of memory. When it runs out of memory, it starts swapping to disk. It's called disk-based, and that's bad because it eats up I/O and the query takes longer. So we also want to take care of that. And then in general, there's a bunch of tools. There's a tool out there called Airflow, which is what we see the most popular to help you execute your pipeline. I highly recommend taking a look at that if you haven't already.